Hey guys, Lizardlea here for 4 Heavenly Beasts, day 29. Here's the progress from day 28. Not a lot, but I got the groundwork in. So I could try and center it, huh? I am about to start Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive book number 4, Rhythm of War. I think that's what it's called. I think it's parts 1 through 5 of the audiobook out of like 6 parts or more. And it's still gonna be like a bajillion hours of what is the footage is not the term of audio files. I'm sure by the time I finish part 5, part 6 will probably already be out. So I'm very excited to continue this book series. Dresden. Nope, I lost it. What's his name? The Harry Dresden Files by... I don't remember his name. Also, I said Dresden instead of Dresden because I've been playing a lot of Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, and Dresden is the capital. Okay, but who wrote the Harry Dresden Files? I don't know! Harry Dresden. Jim Butcher. Okay, I've been talking for way too long. I apologize. I'm gonna go stitch now.
Okay. What do we have to talk about?
It's kind of up to you which ones we do, but we've seen Arsenic and Old Lace, Fried Green Tomatoes, Prince of Darkness, and Dune.
Which of those did we watch first?
Arsenic and
Old Lace. Okay, so that one was the comedic one with the brothers. And yeah. It was a much older movie. Super funny, though. I really liked it.
Yes.
1944.
1944.
Oh, 1944. Yeah, it was black and white, wasn't it?
Yes, starring Cary Grant.
And Cary... Oh, my God. He was so funny. That man can emote like no one else. I'd like... I understand. I know there are a lot of people who don't like when someone over emotes like that, but I love it. I am here for it. I thought it was hilarious, and it made his character that much more amusing to me because he was so just like, wait, what? Like when he was running over to the nightstand by the window.
Yeah,
I died so many times watching that movie because I was laughing so much. Okay, so do your thing.
The synopsis is...
The synopsis, yes.
So it's an older style movie based on a play.
Oh, it's based on a play? I didn't know that.
Yes, and there's something that I finally figured out because there was a certain trivia thing that I couldn't quite remember, and I finally found it. But it's based on a play, again, 1940s, so very old. And the idea is that, the main character has just finally gotten married, and he's about to go on his honeymoon.
But he wrote books about how he was never going to get married and all this stuff.
Yes, he's a famous bachelor, although it doesn't really play into the plot much, but...
I feel like it was a little factor at the start.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the setup, but
and
it
then
doesn't
it
really matter.
Falls
actually.
off.
It stars Cary Grant and Peter Lorre and a bunch of other people. Actually, Peter Lorre's more of a bit role. It doesn't matter.
Is he the doctor?
Yeah, he's the doctor.
Okay.
I just love a lot of his movies, so I figured I'd mention
his face. That man also was very emotive, but in a creepy way.
Yes.
He got to me a lot. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so either way, the idea is that the two aunts of this new married bachelor, he wants to see them real quick, and he's going to get all of his stuff, and then him and his wife are going to go on a honeymoon to Niagara Falls and all that. And his aunts are, of course, wonderful, stellar people who no one would ever accuse of doing anything wrong. In
and
fact,
everyone loves them, and they're so kind.
Yeah, in fact, they, always have a room to rent, which they never actually rent. They just use it to find people who are in need of help and lonely in the world and help them out.
They're not going to be able to hear you, honey.
Yes, I know.
And yet you're still walking away while
I
you're
believe
talking.
in you!
Great, okay. So they are renting out this room to whomever, but you eventually learn that it's always for men that have no one else in their life.
Old and lonely.
Yes, old and lonely. That is very particular. And it turns out these two wonderful, kind, sweet old ladies are killing men.
Yeah.
And the most recent one was number 12.
Yes. So,
No.
yes.
Number 13? 12. 12, that's right.
No, 13. Well, it doesn't
No,
matter.
because I
You
remember
can't
I
count
said
the
12
first
and they
time.
said 11.
Yes.
And then, yes, they argued
I
over
know.
the first one. It was so funny.
So, yeah, they've been poisoning the wine because the very first one, who they rented a room to,
Had a heart attack, didn't
yes, he had a heart attack, and they were like, oh, he looks so peaceful and happy. And so we buried him in the lock because their other son, or their son, I forget if he's directly their son, whatever, the other guy,
Teddy.
yeah, thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt, so he goes and digs the Panama Canal every morning, yeah, or every so often.
Yeah.
And, you know, they told him that they had yellow fever. And so, yeah, it turns out that they're basically serial killers with, I suppose, good intentions, but yeah, they're obviously insane.
Mm-hmm. And the son, or excuse me, their nephew was just like, what? No, you can't be doing this, no. And they're like, oh no, honey, it's fine, don't worry about it. Just don't drink this wine and it'll be fine. Go on your honeymoon.
Yeah. And it's all very funny because, of course, it's him dealing with the completely absurd scenario of that's been set up, and him just kind of like trying to cope with the reality that he suddenly has been thrust upon, and of course, like his wife being like, "Aren't we going on the honeymoon?" And him just completely forgetting all about that while he's trying to get Teddy committed and get his aunts committed. And
Well, no, he didn't want to get his aunts committed. He wanted to get Teddy
Yeah.
committed so that they didn't have anybody to
bury the
bury the bodies anymore, so they would stop.
Yes. Because he doesn't want to turn them in because they're nice old ladies, other than this whole, 12 dead bodies thing. They're now buried in their basements, no less. So, of course, the extra twist comes about halfway through the movie, which we're going to spoil, but whatever. If you haven't seen it, you should.
Oh, you absolutely
Yeah.
should. Oh my gosh.
It's a classic for a reason. Little dated, but it...
I think I liked this one more than the Night of the...
Night of the Hunter definitely is way more dated, yeah, no. This one is very
It
timeless.
was so funny.
Yeah. It's good comedy.
It really is.
It gets extra confusing because halfway through the movie, his brother comes home, Jonathan Brewster, because he's... I forgot what the main character's name is. There's Teddy Brewster, Jonathan Brewster, and what's the main guy?
Mr. Brewster.
Mortimer Brewster.
Mortimer, that's
yeah,
right,
I knew
yeah.
it was something weird. So Mortimer's brother Jonathan comes home, and Jonathan...
And he's got scars all over his face, and he just looks weird.
Well, okay, so the joke on that is multiple layers. Because first of all, Jonathan looks terrifying, and it's very clear he's some sort of lunatic serial killer as well.
And he has always been that way.
Yeah, like he tortured Mortimer as a child and things like that. And he comes home with this doctor. What was Dr. Hyde? I forget what his name was.
The doctor with the creepy eyes.
Yeah, the doctor with the creepy eyes. Nailed it. Peter Lorre. He comes home with this doctor, Dr. Herman Einstein, right, duh.
Was it Einstein?
Yes, that was part of the joke.
Oh, okay.
And he looks terrifying. In fact, people point out that he looks like Boris Karloff, which, first of all, if you're trying to be a serial killer who's not going to be recognized in the 1940s, looking like Boris Karloff is a terrible plan.
Absolutely terrible.
Further, the joke there that I could not remember was that on the Broadway play, Boris Karloff actually played Jonathan Brewster.
Ah, okay.
So while I was like, is that Boris Karloff? I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not, but it does look quite a bit like him. No, it was not Boris Karloff in the movie, but in the play...
In the play, it actually was. That's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it's an extra little gag, and so now he's trying to hide a body because they killed someone before they came over, and they're trying to escape to his aunt's house.
And it was his number 11. It was his 11th kill.
No, it was his 12th.
Was it his 12th?
They
They
were
were
tied.
equal. That's right. They were tied.
Yes, and so there's all sorts of shenanigans as he's trying to hide the body in the lock with, them trying to get rid of him and get rid of the body and everything else. before he finally figures out that, wait, they've been killing people, and
no, he thought it was his brother that was killing people at first.
Yes, he did. First he thinks it's his brother, and then finally they admit to it, and then he finds out they're as good as he is, and then it becomes a competition for him to try and kill his brother.
So he could have 13 kills.
Yes, and get revenge on his brother, who he's just always wanted to kill.
And beat his aunts.
Yeah.
Prove he's a better serial killer.
So lo and behold, it gets a happy ending. And it's just all sorts of absurd. Like, Mortimer is also a dramatic critic, so like he's kind of a drama critic. And at multiple points in the movie, like, there's a cop who's trying to help him, and the cop keeps trying to, like, tell him his playwright ideas. Like, no, you've got to review. So in the third scene, like, and he's sitting there tied up to a chair.
Oh, so good.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
I mean, as with all comedy, it's hard to explain. It's better to see. But yeah, it's a really fun movie. And then the happy ending is, one, he finds out that he's adopted, which means insanity doesn't run in his genes, just theirs. And two,
Teddy's being committed. His aunts are being committed. His brother is being committed.
his brother is arrested.
Oh, and he's not... I thought he was also going to be... I thought they were all going to be committed.
No, it's implying that he's going off to jail for, like, the murder of so-and-so and so-and-so.
Oh, well, I thought,
Who knows?
I don't remember.
But
oh,
no,
well.
the
I mean, yeah, like... Everybody else is gonna be leaving, basically.
Yes. They're all gonna get committed, and it all kind of works out in the sense that, they're no longer going to be killing people, although there's never gonna be really a trial for those 12 dead people, but whatever.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny when, like, the head of the police department, everybody kept talking about the 12 bodies in the cellar, or 13 or whatever, and he's like, oh, ha, 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 ha. Wait. There's not really dead bodies in there, are there? Like, it was so fun. Oh my gosh, it was so funny!
Like most good plays, it has a very good sense of timing, and it has a lot of fun with it, and everyone does a great performance, and it's a classic, so highly recommend, very good, much watch.
Absolutely.
Not much else to say, I think, because it's kind of, it's hard, it's hard to talk about comedy, like, oh, that scene was so funny, like, yes, it was, strange person on the internet. I believe you.
We can only talk so much, like...
That's fair.
But so, if I don't put any narration in, people will complain, so...
So we want to go on to Fried Green Tomatoes?
Yeah! Fried Green Tomatoes! I finally got David to watch it. I love that movie.
It was a movie.
Oh, come on. You laughed a couple times.
No, it was good. It's not really a comedy, though, like, in my opinion. It's got comedic scenes, but it's more like a standard drama. Like, here's this... God, I'm going to have to look at the dates on this, because it's going to be important. I couldn't place the time.
See, and I didn't think it was that important.
Well, I'm just trying to...
Like, you kept mentioning the Great Depression, and I was just like, that has no relevancy here.
It kind of does.
Like,
but I don't think it's supposed to be the Great Depression. Hold on, let me figure out. It was a 1987 novel, blah, 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 blah. Okay, between World War I and World War II. Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, because it's an old... Well, I mean, given the fact that, like, how they treat all the black people is kind of important, that
yes, but
a systemic thing.
That does not ring only for the Great Depression.
With how the police officer acted? Yeah, I mean, not...
You know there were slaves before and after that, right?
Yes, they're not technically slaves at this point, but they are, of course.
Okay, well, indentured servants? I don't know the correct term.
Well, no, it just does... Never mind, fine, we'll skip it. The point is, yes, it is mostly about that. It's actually basically a story about, racism in that era of the U.S., not really a comedy. It's a drama about living back then, and I guess about being minorities, because obviously there's a main thread that's ties together with the whole race thing, but there's also a subtle main thread. Like, it's very obvious, but they don't go out and say it, but it definitely appears that the main characters are lesbians, so obviously if you're living in Alabama where this takes place, not ideal. They don't really focus on that too heavily in the sense of them being, like, persecuted or anything, but at the same time, it's just they're treated differently in the way they live their life.
Well, I mean, Iggy was treated differently.
Yeah.
The other girl actually had a son and had been married at one point.
Yeah,
so.
And was also beaten by her husband.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and then, who turns out to be a KKK member, and on and on and on and on
yep.
and on. So, yeah, it's pretty...
There's 2 timelines, by the way.
Yeah, technically, but not...
Technically.
It's one of those flashback movies where there's one plot. There just happens to be a current plot to kind of tie it together, but, like, it doesn't... The current plot barely matters.
Oh, come on. Kathy Bates is wonderful.
She is. It's basically to break up the tension of the movie and to give them an excuse to jump around in time. And it's not like it's bad. It's just, it's not... I would not call it really 2 plots, just because there is no main plot. Like, it's all still connected to the one thread. It's just told out of order.
Yeah, there's 2 time... Whatever, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, either way, we meet... Who is it? Ruth? No, Ninny. Sorry, Ninny is the name of the old woman.
The old white lady?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yes, so Evelyn goes to meet her husband's aunt again for some reason, and her husband's aunt, we never see her, but is a...
They're in an old home, by the way.
Yeah, I was getting there. She's in a older folks' home, and, like, she's some sort of bitch, so she's always mean to Evelyn. We don't really exactly see it. We just see stuff getting thrown at her from the hospital room. And then she goes out in the waiting room to wait, where she bumps into Ninny, who is a older woman who is, you know, just kind of inserts herself into the conversation because, you know, she's lonely and obviously Evelyn looks like she wants someone to talk to. So they start chatting about Ninny's life, how she used to live in this tiny little town called...
It wasn't the town that mattered, it was Whistle Stop that mattered.
Whistle Stop, yeah.
It was their little restaurant.
Yeah, the Whistle Stop. And just her life living there. Like how, as a young child, she was difficult because she was a young, difficult child. Because she was a tomboy, and that definitely wasn't accepted back in the, you know, whatever eras this is, Alabama. And
her brother got hit by a train and died in front of her.
Right, because he was dating the other girl whose name is...
Buddy was dating... I don't remember.
Ruth. It's Ruth. Yeah, that's Ruth. So... Ow, my eye. So,
okay,
yes,
wait, so did they definitively say that the old white lady is Iggy?
I don't think they did.
But
I mean,
you got this... We both got that vibe that it
we'll
was
get there.
supposed to be
We'll get
Iggy,
there.
right? Well, because you're saying it as if she is Iggy.
Yeah, I know, because that's what I was going to say at the end, which is that it's never really clear, but
yeah,
it doesn't make any sense if it's not
clear.
her. It makes no sense if it's not her, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So, where was I? Ruth. Iggy is basically her older brother is dating a girl named Ruth, and she is quite young. Older brother gets hit by a train while fooling around. So now we're supposed to eventually find out about how Iggy was charged with killing Ruth's husband.
Yes.
And there was a huge trial. So Ruth, years later, starts to befriend Iggy. Because Iggy is now much older and still, you know, hanging out with ne'er-do-wells and whatnot down at the bar.
Gambling.
Yeah, gambling and the river stops and whatnot because, you know, tomboy. And turns out Ruth has a lot of fun hanging out with Iggy, and I mean, in a much more modern movie, they would probably just straight up be gay. It sure seems like the subtext.
Yeah.
So, great, fine. From there, Ruth goes off and gets married because Iggy freaks out and, like, doesn't want to stay friends with Ruth. I forget why. What happens right then?
Well, so Ruth moves... And
Iggy gets upset.
And she sends a bunch of letters to Iggy, and Iggy just ignores them.
Right, because Iggy's upset because Ruth left or something.
Mm-hmm. And she goes over to visit her after like a year or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then she sees that Ruth has a very noticeable black eye.
Yeah.
And she gets into an altercation with Ruth's husband, and she's like, if you ever touch her again, I'll kill you.
Mm-hmm. Which is plot relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So, of note, at the time, they're there with their... What's the technical term? His name is Big George, but he's their...
I mean, indentured servant? I don't...
No, there's actually a term from the era. It doesn't matter. Whatever. They call him a houseboy. No, you get the idea. But either way, Big George is, you know, this nice old black guy who helps around and, you know, takes care of them. He was there when, you know, the brother was killed and whatnot, and is obviously...
Yeah, he's been in Iggy's life her whole life, and she treats him like family.
Yeah, he's basically family. Which is why
She talks about him like he's actually family. Not like, as if he is
Yeah,
family.
no, yeah, I know. So he's also there, and he kind of helps stop the husband from causing problems because they basically imply he's crazy and he'll beat up the husband if the husband does anything. Which, he's not crazy, but he probably would because that's his family.
Yep. He's good at being, the intimidating, tall, big, black guy.
Does he talk much in the entire movie?
He talks to Izzy.
Yeah, only a few times.
But yeah, he when he needs to be imposing, that's when he stops
doesn't
talking.
talk during that scene is the main thing.
In order to come across like he's
crazy. Just
but the husband still pushes Ruth down the stairs.
Yes, when she's pregnant and she lands on her stomach.
He did not know she was pregnant, though.
He doesn't, but nonetheless,
she still has that baby.
Sort of horrifying to see, but then at the same time, it didn't seem to matter. Like the baby is fine. It's just one more jerk thing he does in the list of jerk things.
Well, it's because I feel like it was mostly probably just to make sure the audience was 100% against him.
Yeah,
because
fair.
Seeing the black eye and knowing that he did that isn't the same as seeing him actually
kick her
or
off
push
the
her.
stairs.
Yeah,
I mean,
they just have to really drive home that it is okay that this man gets murdered.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. So, either way, long story short, Ruth has the baby. Iggy and Ruth are living together, and they're happy. They're running a
whistle stop. The
whistle stop.
They open up a restaurant together.
Yeah, a little cafe that's right by the train tracks. Which you'd think they do better about trains because then Ruth's kid also
gets hit by a train
and loses his arm. He doesn't die, unlike the other one. But Jesus.
You fell for it though, man. They did good.
They should have just done it, but whatever.
No.
Anyways.
Buddy Jr. was so cute.
So either way, at some point
he comes back, or he goes to whistle stop.
There's a lot of little subtext building of yes, the Klan is a big deal in this area, which it would be. It makes sense.
And they make a point at the whistle stop to serve whoever wants food.
Yeah,
they do not care about anything.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because the racism side of it is brought in, but it's not forefront of the movie, even though it turns out to be way more important than the movie. This all sounds weird, but it'll make sense, kind of.
Well, they'll feed black people. They will feed homeless people.
Yeah.
They do not care.
Yeah, because there's also... What's his name?
Oh, I don't remember his name. It was like a car or something. It was a weird name.
Mm-hmm. There's a... Sipsy. No,
that's
not
not
Sipsy's the woman.
Sipsy's the black lady.
The black lady, yeah. I forget. Anyways,
It's a homeless white guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Or maybe sort of hobo is what the vibe I got. Because again, this is post-Great Depression, so there were a lot of people like that in the time. That's why the era matters.
I don't... See, I feel like era... How long was the Great Depression?
Up until basically the start of World War II. The World War II and certain economic policies are basically what's credited with getting us out of the Great Depression.
Okay.
Yeah. Or am I thinking of World War One? I don't know. My history is terrible these days. So, either way, he's a mess. It doesn't really matter because, again, it's just to show that the girls are nice and they run this nice little place. And eventually, the big inciting moment of the movie is that the husband comes back and he wants his son. So he's going to take the kid no matter what. And he comes in, he knocks out Sipsy, who is the black woman who works for them. Again, unclear at this era.
She's like their nanny for when they were younger.
Yeah.
And then she's also essentially the nanny of Buddy Jr. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so he knocks her out, and then he takes the kid. And when he's taking the kid, we've already had it spoiled at this point, some of what's happened because it's told out of order.
Smokey Lonesome.
Smokey, yeah.
That was the homeless guy.
Yeah, okay. But either way, he gets, he's running away with the kid, and someone hits him in the back of the head with a shovel.
Well, no, what first happens is he's opening the truck. He puts the baby in the carriage on the floor, and then Smokey's like, I don't think you're going to be running off with Miss Ruth's baby. And the husband just knocks Smokey on his butt. And Smokey's, about to get up because you learn later he is in love with Ruth. So, of course, he doesn't want her to lose her baby. And then, what? I thought it was cute.
It seemed unnecessary, but we'll get there.
Didn't bother me. And then the next thing you see is a shovel, or what you think is a shovel. I assumed it was a shovel.
I'm pretty sure it's a shovel.
It's not. You learn later it's not, but it looks like a shovel. It's a frying pan.
then we knew it was a frying... Because whatever it was in the end, I was like, that's what I always thought it was. So maybe I just misremember.
Oh, see, I don't know. Every time I see that scene, it happens very quickly that I'm always like, oh, it's a shovel. But he's hit in the back of the head, and it actually kills him.
Yeah, so he dies. It's pretty obvious he's dead at this point, even though it's not, like, super violent, because, of course, we know he's going to die.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's told in the past tense. So that kicks off the big mystery, air quotes, because this man from Georgia comes to town searching for who killed the husband, because the husband's gone missing, and he's positive it's been a murder, so he's searching for who killed the husband. So he's sitting at the
whistle stop.
The whistle stop, eating all the barbecue that he really, really likes, and looking for this person and, like, threatening various people, saying, hey, I know it was you. And again, I think the era really matters here, because while he never finds a body or anything, this is the South. The prime suspects are what is basically a gay couple, or the black people who they either, again, I'm unclear if they actually work for them or if it is the indentured servitude thing or whatever. But obviously not many of them have a lot of rights should it come to a court case.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it, because he never really has any evidence. He's just like, well, he came here and that's the last anyone saw of him. Eventually, there's a big storm,
I think it's
right?
like, oh yeah, like 5 years later.
5 years later,
there's a huge storm.
Yeah.
And then they find the husband's truck.
The car, yeah.
It has come up. It's truck.
Well, yeah, okay.
It's important.
It's a truck.
You see the back of it, the front of it, at the opening of the movie, and then you see it when they're pulling it out of the water, and they're like, this is what made them realize it was indeed a murder.
Yes, yeah, it's his, either way.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. And so they go, yeah, obviously someone hid the car, so clearly, or the truck, so clearly there's foul play afoot, so they take it to court.
And they have Iggy and, Big George? Was that his name?
Big George, yeah.
Big George.
They're going to charge both. And so the sheriff, who had a crush on Iggy in the past that we've seen, kind of goes to Iggy and goes, look, I'm supposed to arrest you, but, could be I didn't catch you before you left home, people have been known to do blah, 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 like they're going to hang somebody over this, you should go.
Like, they'll be okay if they get just Big George.
Yeah,
they will accept only a black man as
that's
the instigator.
What he offers, and so she says, no, I'm going to go, or I'm not going to go, screw you, I'm not going to let him just take the fall. So...
Her mom is dead at this point, so I think Big George is her only family.
Pretty much, yeah.
Big George and Sipsy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, Ruth and the kid.
And,
but yeah.
But
yeah, elderly family. So, Big George and Iggy go on trial, and there's a whole lot of, hearsay evidence. I heard her say that she would kill him if he ever laid a finger on blah, 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 and then a bunch of back and forth, and it comes down to the Reverend in town, who Iggy has been giving hell throughout the entire movie.
Yes.
The Reverend shows up, and he's what are they? They're supposed to be Episcopalians or... Protestants, maybe?
I'm not sure, sorry.
I don't remember, but yeah, he's a minister. And he shows up, and he says, yeah, I have, or he's going to testify.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to swear you in, here's a Bible. And he's like, oh, sorry, I brought my own. And they're like, oh, okay.
Use your Bible. So he swears on his own Bible, and then he gives testimony saying that, Iggy and Big George were with him doing a church thing the whole weekend.
And it takes 3 days.
Yeah, and at that point, the judge basically calls the prosecution over and is like, what are you doing? The witnesses have an alibi, and you have no evidence. We have no body.
No one is going to go against the Reverend.
No body, no murder weapon, and now you have a Reverend testifying for them. This is over, we're done.
Yeah, it was an accident. He went into the water and drowned.
Yeah, so all you've got is we're done here. So, hooray, day is saved, everyone's free, and nothing happens. You will eventually find out, first of all, that the Reverend, you almost immediately find out.
Yeah, Iggy walks over to Ruth, and she's like, how did you guys handle this? And then Ruth is just like, well, if the judge had just looked a little bit closer, he would have seen that the Reverend swore on a copy of Moby Dick.
Yeah. So the Reverend lied.
It was so great. great. Oh my god.
So they play the bait and switch on the condition that Iggy would start attending church services.
Yep.
And so hooray. And then we find out later that it was not Iggy or Big George who killed the husband. Sipsy had gotten knocked out at the start of this. He hits her with the end of his shotgun, grabs the baby, walks out, knocks or punches Smokey, who then falls over. And then finally, Sipsy is recovered by this point, and yes, hits him over the back of the head with a frying pan, which kills him. So she didn't intend to murder him, probably.
She just wanted to knock him out.
She would have cared, but she just wanted to protect the child.
Yeah.
This guy's terrible, he's taking the child, we need to stop this. They all knew that Sipsy would never get a fair trial.
Absolutely
and
not.
They would just straight up hang her. So they all agreed to, never speak of it, and to hide the body. And this is where the movie, in my opinion, shows that good old 1980s, 1990s charm of wow, they did a lot of cocaine back then. Because this sort of dramatic feel-good movie about dealing with, being different in a time where that wasn't accepted and, touching on racism and, just things like that. Well, the way they hide the body is they feed him to the people at the cafe.
Stop.
The barbecue that the freaking detective has been eating is this man's body. Yep. And I was like, wow, that is...
I loved it. I thought that was amazing. But so I don't know if I have a director's cut of my DVD. So we rented it on Amazon to watch it for this because we're too lazy to set up the DVD player. But I swear, and I don't know if you guys have seen this movie, but you could tell me if I'm right or wrong. I swear in the movie at some point, someone is just oh yeah, the detective has been eating the evidence all along. But it was not said at all in the movie when we watched it. And I was just that was one of my favorite lines because it definitively says that, yes, he is a cannibal. He doesn't know it, but he is. And he absolutely loves the taste of that dude.
Which, I mean, again, this is kind of that whole, oh, yeah, Back to the Future. Well, what's the story? Well, they go back in time and he almost sleeps with his mother. Oh, okay, that's a little weird taken out of context. Yeah, the whole, well, okay, I understand Sipsy wanted to protect the baby. She'd already been assaulted. She probably didn't mean to kill him. All right, well, how do we hide the body? I know, let's commit a capital crime and make everyone else a cannibal. Because I don't think they would have just fed it to him. It would have been anyone who got barbecue that day.
He was eating there for 5 years. They could have kept his body frozen there, and only one person's
So it's extra deranged. Good. Now it's not just we're trying to hide evidence, but we kept the body until investigators show up.
They don't say.
I know, but it is incredibly creepy.
Okay, but I would like to point out, I Googled it. So the original book in Fried Green Tomatoes, Ninny and Iggy are the same person. Or, excuse me, they are not the same person. The old woman telling the story is not Iggy. But in the movie, they are the same person.
Okay, because I was going to...
They changed it from the book.
Because I was just about to get to that, which is this entire time it's been told to a housewife who's clearly having an unhappy time, because her husband is a jerk. Not an out-and-out abusive jerk, but clearly doesn't care enough about her feelings or whatnot, and she's trying to get the romance back in their relationship, and he just wants to watch the game. And so she finally finds a way to communicate with him by telling him hey, moron, you're gonna ruin this marriage, and turns her life around. And then she also finds out during this that Ninny, the old woman who's been telling this story, has lost her home while she's been in the home, and she won't have anywhere to go back to. So Ninny gets let out after them pretending she died, which was pretty funny. Oh,
that was hilarious. All right, that scene was amazing. Because she's just you didn't tell me that she died! And the nurse is oh, I didn't think you'd care. You didn't think I would care? Well, yeah. And then she makes it clear that it was her roommate that passed away. And this woman just starts cheering, and she's oh, it was her that died? Oh, yes! Yeah. And then, not that I'm happy that she's dead, but it was... Kathy Bates is an amazing actress. She sold me on that whole scene.
So, yeah, she goes off and says, hey, Ninny, I've, furnished parts of the house.
We want you to move in with us.
Yeah, you should move in with us. And before back and forth, tears are had. One of the things that Iggy did that was a big deal was she charmed bees, air quotes, by which I mean she walked up to a beehive at one point and got honey from the hive without getting stung to hell and back.
Okay, so I don't know if this is something I've heard or if it's true. I don't know. Maybe you'll know. Honeybees don't have stingers, right? Or no?
I believe
they do.
Can. I think it depends on what breed of bee, but
yes.
Oh,
okay.
I am pretty sure most bees have stingers. Bees
die
when they sting.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's bumblebees.
Bumblebees,
that
I believe, don't have stingers.
But they don't make honey, do they?
There's some kind of bee that doesn't have a stinger. I don't know if it's a bumblebee or if they're just the ones that usually don't sting, but it really hurts if they do, or if it's what we call bumblebees, but they're not actually bumblebees. Anyways, not the point.
Well, a honeybee does indeed have a stinger.
Yeah, there we go.
Which bees don't have stingers? Male bees.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, that makes more sense. So, the point is that they go by Ruth's grave because Ruth. Oh, right, Ruth got cancer and all this, and died, like in the past.
Yeah,
it's very sad.
It was sad.
But
she got to say bye to Buddy Jr.
Yeah. And
she died listening to Iggy telling her a story that Buddy used to tell. It was really cute.
Yes, it's very sweet and depressing at the same time. So they pass by Ruth's grave because that's where Ninny is visiting the old town because that's where her home is. And there's a jar with a honeycomb in it and a card that says something like or I'll always love you, Bee Charmer, which implies that Iggy is alive. And this is where I get to my problem. Well, not problem, but what we were talking about earlier. To me, it's very clear that the old woman is probably Iggy. They never come out and say it, and the movie leaves it open to interpretation. But the simple problem is, it's one of those things where, like, there's no one else in this story who would know all of this, who would be alive, who, she knows too much,
Well, I mean, I've heard plenty of stories from my family about them growing up.
Right, about the time they served the dead guy to the cops.
But I've heard some not good stories about my family, I could back that up. I'm not going to tell you guys those, because no. But no, my issue was, I swear in the beginning, the way that Iggy speaks about herself, I don't think it lines up. Or the way Ninny speaks about herself or whatever. It doesn't line up with Iggy's background. So I don't know if they're just trying to fudge the details or if I just misunderstand it every time she talks about it.
I think she's talking kind of generalist and being purposely vague. Because I was listening for that because I assumed she'd be talking about herself. And they purposely left it vague. I don't think she says anything that contradicts her being Iggy. But she doesn't say anything that technically confirms it. But it's just one of those movies where it's weird if she's anyone else because there's no one else she could be who would really have this knowledge of what's going on because it's implied that the secret that they fed a guy to the cops is sort of kept close to the chest.
Okay, wait, but doesn't she even say that that's what she was told? That she doesn't know that that's what they did?
I mean, given that the movie then shows us that, yes, it is possible this old lady has made up the entire story and knows nothing, but that is not a really satisfying answer to the story either, is it? Yes, it could just be, she's like, and they fed him to the person, and AG's gonna come in and go, I did not make everyone in town a cannibal, you crazy old woman. But they didn't do that, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
You know what? I don't even care. I love it. I mean, I hope no one has made me into a cannibal, but as a plot point in a movie, I support it.
Yeah, for the record, horrible, outside of the obvious moral issue.
Yeah, no, doing that to somebody, oof. Well, especially because there are people who actually, cannot eat meat. Well, granted, they have to specifically order barbecue to get it, but,
Well, no, it's the fact that there are a whole bunch of diseases you can only get being a cannibal.
From eating people, yeah.
Yeah. So, they're, I believe, fairly rare, but I haven't run the numbers on.
I thought most of them were specifically, mostly from eating the brain.
No.
No?
Well, there's the most famous ones are from that, but you can technically get those, I believe, from eating any part of the human body.
Yeah, that's just dangerous. But, we don't discuss that. It's fine.
Today on the Cross Stitch channel, cannibalism! On the fun, lighthearted movie.
You know what? That is still a really good movie. I still really like it, even after all these years.
Is it even class? This is comedy? I don't know. Yeah, no, it's good. And it's called Fried Green Tomatoes.
I laughed at it a lot.
That's what they used to make at the thing. And yeah, it came out in 91. It's a movie. I thought it was okay. I don't know the exact words for it, but like, it's an emotional drama, and I've seen emotional dramas like this. Is it the best one I've seen? No. Is it the worst one I've seen? No. It was kind of unique, both in like setting and demeanor, but at the same time, I wasn't like dying to find out what happened. It was just entertaining. It's cute. It's sad. It, hits all the notes.
Okay,
Which,
IMDb says it's a drama.
yeah, no one would class this as comedy.
Okay, but you know what? I laughed at a lot of it.
No, it
so like
definitely
I
has
still
comedic-
think it's at the very least comedic.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. It has comedic moments. Absolutely. I just it.
Whatever.
The woman dies of cancer. Like, you usually don't have that in your comedies. It happens, but not often. And the kid gets hit by a train, and the other kid gets hit by a train. I guess that's funny.
I mean, how they handled it was funny. Like, you totally fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker.
I mean, I feel like they need to put some railings up or something. I'm just saying.
I would
Once
just
it's
be
an
like,
accident-
kids are not allowed to play by the train tracks. Like, everybody would know about Buddy if I were there. Because it's like, hey, you want to know how your uncle died? He got hit by a train.
Once is an accident, twice is Darwinism. Yeah, no, it's well acted. That helps.
Oh, it was very well acted.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my favorite lines is at the supermarket. So it's with Kathy Bates' character. She's waiting for a spot in her car. This person pulls out, drives away, and then as she's about to get into the spot, these two girls pull in really quickly. Were they in a Beetle? I think it was a Beetle,
Yes,
wasn't it?
in a
Yeah.
Beetle.
So they pull up really quickly, and they get out, and she's like, I was waiting for that spot. And they're just like, face it, lady, we're younger, hotter, and faster. And Kathy Bates gets so angry, she puts her car in reverse, and she just slams into their car, like 5 or 6 times. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yep.
And they come running over, and they're like, oh my God, lady, what's wrong with you? And she's just like, face it, girls, I'm older and I have more insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that line so much.
There's
It
a
was
lot of
so good.
fun humor, and then this silly sort of new age actualizing feminism stuff that's just clearly not up her alley.
Oh, yeah.
Her having to deal with all that, and just there's a lot of again. I feel like the modern scenes are kind of break the tension and drama of the older scenes to keep it a little more lighthearted, because otherwise it's just like, and then this horrible thing happened. Like, it's not that bad. It does definitely, like any sort of slice of life thing, it does a good job of showing the good and the bad. But yeah, the modern stuff is kind of to help
Bring down the tension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Excuse me.
You're excused. You may go to our room.
Do we have enough for another? Or?
We have like 2 minutes. So
Great,
no.
we have enough for another. So Prince of
No,
Darkness was
no.
okay.
Oh, well, legit, like, I was trying so hard to watch it, and I fell asleep a bunch. It wasn't because it was boring. I mean, it was a little boring. But it was mostly because I had slept horribly the night before. So I was so exhausted.
Yeah, as far as horror movies go, it's alright. It's nothing special.
It's John Carpenter, right? The guy who did The Thing?
Yeah.
Okay, The Thing is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. And
It's probably my favorite.
I have no intention of re-watching that other one.
Yeah. There's like a couple of really cool scenes and
Prince
some
of
neat
Darkness?
concepts, but you can skip it unless you're a horror fan.
Man, I'm a horror fan, and I was just like, huh? Like, I saw a couple cool scenes, but that was not enough.
You did miss all the good stuff.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, like at the end, it gets a lot, like it all climaxes at the end, and that's kind of the big payoff, and that's when you fell asleep.
I fell asleep a couple times.
Yes.
But, like, that's the thing. I was trying so hard to stay awake. I would wake back up. But, yeah, I missed so much.
Yeah, it's definitely very slow, and that doesn't help it, and it's very like, well, that was a cool idea, but now what? And it's like, oh, well, you want us to care about these characters. That was a mistake. Because they're not very interesting. Like, this guy, like, I seriously thought the main protagonist, air quotes, was maybe going to be the killer at first, due to how they introduced him and how he behaved. I'm like,
Oh, yeah, he was kind of creepy.
is he supposed to be
stalking
a
her.
creepy thing? And no, it's just, what, 80s, 70s mustache mixed with poor writing? I don't know.
Yeah, the mustache.
Yeah.
He was gorgeous, Except for that mustache. I don't really care for facial hair though, so it makes sense.
We still have to watch Into the Mouth of Madness, which is the other
Hopefully that one's better.
part of this, but yeah.
Alright, well, we're basically at the end, so
Yay!
watch more movies.
And that is the end of For Heavenly Beasts, day 29. I got 3 hours and 35 minutes of footage. I'm very tired. I'm hungry. There's a lot of blue. I finished 3 colors, I think it was. Nice legs. Can you do the can? If you can, then I can. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I've started Rhythm of War. A couple voices have changed, and I don't really like some of the new ones, but, you know, whatever, you gotta do what you gotta do. And, yeah, I got nothing else. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys next video.